and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgive. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On right here on UCY.TV, the best little network on the internet. And I mean that. I really do mean that. This is one little network that needs to grow. And I hope everyone's out there helping it to grow. I think they are. It seems to be growing, so that's good news. Anyways, it's February the 9th. It's snowing out. And I just got a call from Michael Schmidt, the raw milk farmer here in Ontario that's been terrorized basically for 20 plus years. And we're going to go look at the Milk Act after the show for a bit. But, you know, sometimes I find I stick things, I use Facebook, not because I like it, because it gums up one of my email things badly. Right, like I got 850 emails the other day or something. Give me a break. So I pretty well sawed that email off and used the other one. So if you do want to send me something out there, you can send it to Canada Live at TNT, like in Tom Nancy Tom 21.com. If you have something, a story or something, or you want to, say hi or whatever, you can do that. So it's Canada Live at TNT21.com, but don't send me a lot of garbage. I'm getting buried, and I don't want to mess that. If it's something that's relative or important, send it there, because chances of me seeing it in the other email are getting pretty small. Now, sometimes I put posts up. I use Facebook because I think they got my blog pretty well locked down now. I mean, I did get the notice that the Vatican's following my blog, and after I got that, my hits went right in the toilet. I'm apparently the head of security for the Attorney General's office is in charge of my file. And because I used to call the Attorney General's office quite often looking for information, and the last few times I called, they said they're not allowed to speak to me anymore. I have to talk to Jim Macris, who is the head of security, was a Toronto cop, was hooked up with Fantino, it's another crooked cop, and now he's the head of security for the Attorney General's office, so they say they put me over there because he has my file. Although when I call him and, yo, Jim, what's up? I want to talk to you about some stuff. And I says, what is this file you have on me? And he says, file? I don't have no file on you. Well, the people that answer the phone over at the ministry seem to think you got a file on me and that you're in charge of it. So anyways, I had some interesting conversation with him. One of them is that, I said, you guys have been trying to wing me as some kind of a free man or something for quite some period of time. I said, that's a crock of nonsense. And he said, no, you're not a free man. What you are is you are somebody that knows a lot. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's his take on the situation. But he did agree that we here are still in the feudal system. We never left the feudal system. It's rebranded a few times, but we are still subject to and have never left the feudal system. We're still based on the feudal system. This whole idea of this legislature and that is just basically a bait and switch and smoke and mirrors. And it goes for the same in the United States and Australia and Britain, everywhere else. We're still in the feudal system. So that's just the way it is. Anyways, sometimes I put up some posts that somebody's been looking at on my blog or something I haven't seen in years. And some of those things, I got really negative feedback on them when I first put them in. And it was too far out for people. It was too far ahead of where their brain was at. And so years later, I post some of these things, and just to get a gauge on how people are feeling about the exact same thing that was maybe posted 6, 7, 8 years ago. And where I would get hammered on back then for what I posted. Now when I post it, it seems to have changed, and that's a very, very positive sign. Now, this particular post, I post it every now and again because I need people to kind of look through this thing a little bit, and because we have our Prime Minister now, Justin. I'm so stupid. I just wait for somebody to stick their hand up my ass, make my lips move, and I speak. Because I really have no clue. Daddy was a lot sharper than me. He was a communist, but he was a lot sharper communist than I am. I'm just a pretty boy who really doesn't know anything about anything. Is pro-Israel, pro-China, pro-Muslim. He's everything but pro-Canadian. And when I say Canadian, I'm not talking about the corporate side of it. I'm talking about the people. And it's the same thing in the United States. I mean, I got kids praying on Muslim prayer mats in white schools. I mean, I still don't understand why parents have their kids in the schools. I really don't get that. You have pedophiles setting the agendas or the curriculums in the schools as far as, health education, sex education goes. You have this Muslim infiltration. You have, our leaders, our so-called leaders seem to be supporting everything but the people that built the countries. Cicero said that very good, very, very long time ago that, the treason is inside your gates, basically, really quickly. I mean, it's a lot longer than that, but that's the basic gist of it. So the treason is from within. Okay, the enemy is inside our lands, and they're called our political parties. They're called our bureaucracies. They're called our military. They're called our justice systems. They're called, our education systems, our health systems. They're all basically Trojan horses now. They're taking us down from the inside. So, this thing I posted, I was thinking about this a little bit. I was rooting around late last night, and I was looking at, I knew Martin Luther, the one that outed the Catholic Church. I knew that he didn't have much good to say about Islam, and he didn't. He calls it religion of evil, basically satanic religion, which is basically what the Catholic Church is. And so, I just punched this up again. I don't know. I'm going to put it in the chat. If you've read it, fine. If you haven't read it, take a boo through it. But I know the first time I posted this, I was waiting to get pulled up in front of a human rights board or something. And I had some people really ugly about it. And I said, hey, I didn't write it. Okay? I'm just putting the book out there. I did not write this. Okay? But, when you think about it, what's going on here these days, we got a pope run around saying, Jesus was a pimp or something. I don't know what the hell he's saying, but it wasn't nice anyways. And we've got this crazy Muslim Islamic invasion in all these Western countries, and then we have the Jews. Call them Zionist Jews, call them Jews, call them whatever the hell you want. I don't care. I didn't write the book, right? But it seems like that these three entities, we have these nations of ours, these so-called nations of ours, tripping over each other to send money and support to Israel. And we have all of the Western nations tripping over themselves to see who's going to bring in the most Muslims or the most Islamic influence into our countries. And then, when they came over here, the bankers and the Rothschilds and that, what was the first thing they told them to do? Get a hold of the four biggest newspapers. Okay, so, your media, your entertainment, your movies, your TV, it's all manipulated. Okay, so now we have these three entities, and these are the three entities that Martin Luther exposed way back in the 1500s. Now, it seems to me that these three entities seem to be what's really tearing our nations apart. And he got it right way back when. Now, I don't have it here on that particular post. If you look at it, that's just his book on Jews. But I was reading some on Martin Luther. I do it every now and again just to keep myself grounded. And he has you can Google or whatever you use for a search engine, Martin Luther and Islam or Martin Luther and Muslims or whatever, and you'll run across some of his writings on the matter. And he wasn't too impressed by the whole situation. And he did I think he called it the religion of evil. So why is all of this stuff going on in these so-called Christian nations? I mean, we have Christian churches tripping over each other to sponsor in Islamic people. We have, if you've been on the internet, I don't care if you're reading or watching videos or whatever, these people have no respect whatsoever for the host country, and they make no bones about it. They have no respect for the laws, which I don't either, by the way, but they have this deal whether either you bow down to our Sharia law in Islam, or you're an infidel, and therefore you must be put out of business, end of life. The interesting part of Islam is that it is what we started out with. Not Islam, but the same attitude, the same idea. Okay, now we know the Catholic Church is as crooked as all get out, and the Zionism and all this kind of stuff. We know two things happened after World War II. They tried it after World War I, but the Jews didn't, or the Zionist Jews, or the Kazanaski Jews, or whatever the hell you want to call them. I don't care what you call them. Were offered a state. Yeah, it was in Africa, I think, but they didn't want it. So they didn't accept it. And they fired up the League of Nations, and it failed. So that's they didn't get Israel, then they didn't get the international government. So fire up World War II, do some more propaganda, have another depression, destroy the economy one more time, and let's have at it again. This time, they got enough signatures for, well, they had to get America online, and they did. So they got America's signature, and the United Nations was born, and Israel was born. And nothing's been real good ever since. You know, as bad as it may have been in the past, it's really not been good since. We've had constant war, even though the United Nations, everybody signed on so we wouldn't have wars, so we'd have peace. Well, I guess that wasn't quite true, was it? Nothing that went on in the United Nations has been true. It's all bait and switch and smoke and mirrors as they move us to where they want us. And that's the end of Christianity and the end of the nation state. That's why you have so much multiculturalism. That's why you have so much influx now of Islam, because they're going to try and take it down. Now, the beauty of Islam, as far as a structure, is that that's how we started out. We started out with the law of the King James Bible, basically, and that was the law, okay, and that the state must not go outside of that law. If it takes away or adds to that law, then it's not law, okay? They've broken the contract. So what they did was they separated the church and state, okay? And then they enslaved the people to the state, not the creator. So now you're stuck being subject to the state's rules and regulations, which they make up a gazillion of them every year. And each one of those rules they make up is designed to hurt you, remove your rights, take your money, whatever. So they that way they got you, okay? Because church has been moved out of this system now, and that's what's wrong with our system, okay? Not the church per se, but the founding document, if you will, which is the King James Bible. Do no harm, do unto others you have, do unto you, and so on and so forth. A simple law, real law, not this constructed nonsense that comes through the legislature, created by the lawyers for the benefit of their friends, neighbors, and fellow corporations at your expense every single time. So, you know, people say, well, how are they going to get Sharia law in here? Well, the same way that we had law here. See, Islam never separated the church and the state. It is a state. So people say, well, Islam is political. Well, of course it's political, right? Just like your state is political. Only when the Islamics come in, they say, we don't abide by, you hear this all the time, we don't abide by your rules and regulations because we're of Islam, okay, which is the church and the state. Okay, and they're using that now to try to make the final burial on Christianity. The only problem is Christians in general are stupider than a box of rocks. Okay, they have been so mightily deceived, it is ridiculous. You know, just listen to the preacher, right, and everything will be fine. Well, if you look at the Jesuits, what are the Jesuits supposed to do? They're supposed to infiltrate everything. Then they did. Okay, they interfere in the politics. They have a huge influence in the political system. They have a huge influence in the schooling system. And they have an absolute huge influence in the religious system. Okay, so the so-called Christians are really, if you want to look at it, are not what you would call purebred Christians. They've got away so far from this, it's nuts. When you have so-called faithful Christians, looking at the poor on the street and walking away from them or whatever, and working hard to sponsor Muslims from Syria or wherever. Okay? I mean, how stupid is that? It's completely stupid. And what has to disappear for the New World Order, the Old World Order, somebody I saw last night wrote something, the Jew New Order, whatever it is, it's not good. And two things have to fall: the American Constitution and the Christian religion. And I don't care if you hate the American Constitution or you laugh at the Christian faith. Fact is, those are the two things that have saved your bacon to date. Okay? And when they fall, it's over. It is absolutely over. And you're going to see so much death, it will freak you out. Okay? I mean, this all goes part and parcel of the depopulation program and so on and so forth. So, when I look at it from that perspective, it looks like the Catholic Church, Islam, and the Jews are all working together for their final solution. And that's the way it looks to me. Now, if it looks different to you, so be it. But this isn't funny, right? There's nothing funny about this. This is a eradication of the Western civilization, if they can get away with it. I mean, when you have the President of the United States, I saw something go by earlier about all these executive orders taking God out of everything, and I see our Prime Minister up here, and they're all traipsing around being Islamic and being Chinese. They're being anything but what they're supposed to be. Well, then that just makes sure that that we're in trouble. And I don't know what's so hard about standing up to this nonsense. I have no idea whatsoever. I mean, every single parent ought to be down to their education board. I mean, not one. I don't mean two. I mean the entire town of parents, wherever you live, ought to be down the throats of the education system. Because you were lied to since the day you were born, and your children are being lied to, and they're being propagandized with the most ridiculous stuff you could imagine. And people keep on sending their kids to school. You know, you have the Christian faith, the Christians who have got caught up in this nonsense spewed off by their preachers, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Well, you don't belong to Caesar. Caesar don't own your ass. But we've all signed on to Caesar owning our asses. Okay? And these Christians, I mean, give unto Caesar. Well, now you got Caesar as God. That's pretty stupid. The state is your God. That's pretty stupid. Okay? The state, all the judiciary and the police and the politicians all take an oath to serve the state, not the people. So the police and the judiciary is there to protect the state from what? From you. Well, wait a minute. I thought it was of the people, by the people, for the people, or whatever. No. It might have been that way in the beginning. Ain't that way now. It's by the state, for the state. The judiciary is there to rob you, threaten you, fear you. You know, instead of fear of God in you, they got the fear of the state in you. And that's ass backwards. Absolutely ass backwards. But you see the Christians standing up to this? No. Well, we're supposed to pay what Caesar, we're supposed to pay Caesar. Read the book, you fools. You know, I don't know of a group that ticks me off more right now than these so-called upstanding, church-going Christians. I don't think there's an outfit out there that ticks me off more. They should know better. But apparently they don't. If there's a group of people out there that ought to understand morality and truth, it ought to be them. But they're so far gone in the deception land, they don't know what the hell's going on. They're just following along like all the other sheep. You know? I mean, I see these things. I think I'm getting into a rant here. I should be careful. You know, I see these things. Conservative Christians. What the hell is that supposed to mean? What in the hell is that supposed to mean? Well, we're conservative Christians. Well, where in the hell in the Bible is it saying about a conservative Christian? You've been hoodwinked. You're stupid. I'm sorry, but you're stupid. Okay? Anybody would put a label up in front of their name like that or in front of their group like that, you know, Conservative Christians for America. Makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense. There's no such thing as a liberal Christian. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's all kinds of people going to church that consider themselves to be liberal-minded and consider themselves Christians. You know, Democrats can't be a Christian. Only conservatives can be Christians. I mean, that's how messed up this group of people really is. Now, they're going to have to they're going to have to get their acts together. There's no ifs, ands, or ways about it. We got to get the law back in these lands. And the law, I'm going to tell you, the law, legal and law are not the same thing. One is entrapment by the state, enslavement by the state, and the other is freedom. Okay? That's what it is. It's freedom. If you don't harm somebody, you didn't break a law. And if you live your life going, I will do unto others as I wish them to do unto me, then not like you're going to shoot somebody or rob them. That would be law. You know, how many parents have the kids in jail for the most stupid, inane things one could even think about when they haven't harmed anybody? And how many of those parents consider themselves Christians? Probably a great number of them. So my message to the Christians out there is get your act together and get it together now. Okay? Because you're doing exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. And that's just plain silly. Anyways, voting is useless. It's not only useless, I see this in the chat, voting is useless. It's not even useless, it's a freaking crime. Because you're impersonating somebody. You never voted once in your life because you can't do it. Okay? You're set up as an agent of the government-created identity, which is a legal person. That's who votes. That's who gets registered. And you act as an agent for it. So if you think you voted, you have never voted. Because you can't. And that ought to tick people off. I mean, that should really tick people off. You got this big circus going on, and all these talking heads and all these idiot stick candidates. I mean, what's the IQ of the whole bunch of them put together? It ain't real high. And who are they looking out for? You? Well, they can't look out for you, can they? Because they take an oath to look out for the state. So this idea that you're voting for someone to represent you is a farce. But people keep going to the polls. I think Trump would make a wonderful president. You know, he built hotels all over the place. He understands things. He's a player. You know, Cruz is a lawyer. And what is a lawyer by nature? A liar. So why is anybody voting for any of these clowns? I don't want to bring up Hillary. I mean, she congratulated Walter Cronkite when he got the Norman's Cousin Award for the World Federalist. And he said he was proud to sit on the side of Satan. And Hillary Clinton came in and congratulated him on it. Then people still go to the polls and vote? You know? I mean, what are they doing bringing in all these immigrants? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're going to change out this. I mean, it's well underway here in Canada. I mean, our Politico up here is full of gay people. And it's full of, now we have a head of our military is wearing wearing a turban. Can't barely speak friggin' English. Mayor of Calgary's a Muslim. Okay, so as they infiltrate, and they're not even infiltrating, they're welcome. They're trying, I mean, your governments are trying to get these people into place. Okay, so that they control your legislatures and that. And guess what comes when that happens? You got it, Sharia law. Okay, and then it's over. So, you know, we got to get to work, and we got to get to work quick. I mean, for crying out loud, I live in a little town of 7,500 people. It's a Scottish town, and we now have a Islamic center in town. Okay? I mean, they're coming everywhere. Well, they're really nice people. Well, then go home. Well, they bombed their countries. That's right. So they could do what? Get you here. Okay? So who bombed the countries? Well, our countries did. And why did they bomb the Islamic countries? So they would have to help them. To come where? Here. To do what? Take over. You know, this isn't all by none of it's by accident. Not one little bit of it is by accident. You know, and you're not going to chase them out of here by throwing pork at them. You might end up in front of a human rights tribunal. And you know, another thing I found interesting, I was looking at some of the clothing last night, and if I look at the clothing of the dress of a Jesuit and the dress of a Islamic cleric, I guess, or whatever, they're both wearing Cossacks, right? Why is that? They look extremely similar in their clothing. And the Jesuits were to infiltrate. And the Muslims are infiltrating. Okay, so everybody's going to be on the same team except us. We're the fractured ones. We're running around. Oh, did you see the movie? We don't seem to have any compass here. We don't have to. The general public doesn't seem to have any compass whatsoever. You know, we're just wandering aimlessly around discussing crap one day and a different crap the next day, or the same crap the next day, or whatever. And exactly, it's all a big show. But when the show's over and the final curtain drops, you know, so as I said many times in the past, we have got to get control of the scripts. We got to start writing the script. Okay? We have to take over the stage and do the acting. Okay? We can't just sit in the frickin' audience and watch the big show. Because it ain't going to be a happy day when the final curtain falls. Okay? This is not, I mean, you can't, I mean, the football game, I don't watch these things anymore. But I've seen a little bit. And, you know, this Beyonce or whatever her name is, and you know, Lady Gaga, she did such a wonderful job singing the national. Actually, she did. I listened to that. She did a very good job. But if you watch her other videos on that, I mean, what the hell is she doing singing anything got anything to do with America, right? So you have all of this stuff coming at you, And I'm sure them stands was full of Christians. You know, you're just going to the Colosseum. That's all you're doing. Okay, slaves to the Colosseum. Entertain the slaves and send them home, and they'll be all happy. So, anyways, that's that for that. I just meant to mention that for 1 second, and I get carried away with it because it really ticks me off that people are the way they are. We live in these places. You know, I can't. Any of these people in the chat here, I can't influence anything where you live. I can't. Just like you can't influence anything where I live. Okay, that's what I keep saying. This is we're going to lose it or win it at the local level. And we have got to get up off our couches, and we have got to turn them dumbass TVs off. And we got to get talking to our friends and neighbors, whether they want to hear it or not. Okay? Find a subject that you can get in on, right? You know, if they got little kids, ask them how the school's going. Ask them how their kids' math's going. Are they having trouble in school? Get something that you can get them involved in. Okay? And get to work. You know, get to work on them. Anyways, back here, one of my other favorite subjects is the WHO. Bunch of jackasses. Now, this one here, I know we got this new virus going, and it came out of nowhere, apparently, and, you know, what are they doing to us? I mean, what did they do to the native North Americans, right? They gave them blankets full of smallpox, okay, and wiped them out. Whatever survived, they put them into new schools, re-educate them. Okay? Now, you got planes flying over your head all over the place all day, every day. You know, one of these days, one of them planes are going to come drop payload on us. And it ain't going to be barium and aluminum. Okay? And somebody's going to get, you know, they're just working their asses off to get some virus. And they put themselves up as the heroes, the WHO and all the interconnected health agencies in your country, that they're the heroes to save you from these viruses, which is the very outfit that is pushing the vaccines and pushing the depopulation programs. We got to come to terms with that. There is nothing good about the UN or anything that's attached to it or anybody that's promoting it. Nothing. Squat. And we got to get that out more into the open. You know, if you waste 1 ounce yammering on about the election, you've wasted your time. And you've taken time away that you could have been doing something positive and wasted it there. And then you get into conversations with people why Trump's better than Cruz, or Cruz is this or that, or why Hillary, I love her, or I hate her, whatever the hell is he talking. It's just wasted conversations. It muddles up your brain, and it puts noise in there that doesn't need to be there. So cleanse that out and focus on what you can do. You know, we weren't, you know, there's always a way to teach your children well. Well, the children weren't taught well. We weren't taught well. I'm 61. I wasn't taught well. I was lied to. The whole freaking thing has all been a lie. We just got to accept that, and then we need to focus and come up with solutions on how we're going to deal with this, because we have to deal with it. That's not a if, that's a given. We must deal with it. Anyways, thousands of lives. I haven't read this yet, but I'm going to look at it. It says thousands of lives are at risk unless the WHO reforms now. Okay? Now, I don't know what they plan on reforming, but I'm going to go find out. Now we have a picture here. Headache. what the hell kind of a poster is this? You have a black guy walking down the street on a dirt street with a big thing painted on the wall that was saying Ebola. And then down below, you got some guy holding his head, or some girl, I guess, holding her head with headache. And then some other guy over here with the hiccups. I don't know what that's about. But now, see, here's the next problem. This is a headline off the Communist Broadcasting System in Canada here, and it says thousands of lives at risk in next major pandemic unless WHO reforms, says a UN report. Well, the WHO is the UN, part of the UN. So the World Health Organization, they don't tell you they're connected even in this headline. You know, unless the WHO reforms, says the UN report. Oh, the UN wants them to reform. Well, it's the same outfit. It's the same set of lips talking. But this word here, pandemic, okay, once it goes to a pandemic 6, they have a little scale of some sort. Once it hits pandemic 6, then the United Nations or the WHO takes total control of your health system. And that I don't think would be very healthy. Anyway, let me work through this thing. The World Health Organization's emergency response capability is lacking and will put thousands of lives at risk is it not reformed now, according to a high level. This is not a low level, medium level. This is a high level UN report on health crisis. This may be the very last opportunity to ensure that World Health Organization is empowered to build an effective emergency response capacity, warned an advanced, unedited copy of the UN panel's report made available online over the weekend in a link on the United Nations Daily Journal website. The high risk of major health crises is widely underestimated, and the world's preparedness and capacity to respond is woefully insufficient. Doesn't this just sound a hell of a lot like global warming, climate change? Doesn't that just sound almost verbatim? Right? You know, you can throw the IPCC in, interchange that with the WHO, and you've got the same story. If the WHO does not successfully reform, the next major pandemic will cause thousands of otherwise preventable deaths. The UN report entitled Protecting Humanity from Future Health Crises is the latest in a series of reviews by global health experts which have been sharply critical of the WHO's response to the devastating Ebola epidemic in West Africa. Okay, now what else we got here? With all eyes now focused on the response to the mosquito-borne Zika virus, which has been reported in 33 countries as linked to birth defects, the agency is under even more scrutiny. WHO chiefs have previously promised to act swiftly on reforming the agency's emergency responses. It was not immediately clear when the final report will be published. The Ebola outbreak, which began in Guinea and spread from there to infect thousands across Liberia and Sierra Leone, killed more than 11,300 people. Now, Jacques Cousteau, who used to run around, that French guy who used to run around, and I enjoyed it when I was a child, just like I enjoyed watching the nature of things when I was younger, until I figured out what these clowns were up to. And it wasn't about nature, it was about depopulation. All of these nature shows are about depopulation. Man is the enemy, just like they said in the Club of Rome. Man is the enemy. I mean, Jacques Cousteau, he would be appalled that the Ebola outbreak only killed 11,300 people. Because according to good old Jacques, a minimum 350,000 people have to die every day in order for the planet to survive. So that's what this game's about. Now, there is no substitute for single global health leader. The UN panel's key recommendations was for the WHO to build a new center for emergency preparedness and response, which must have real command and control capability, access to specialized human and operational resources to execute a health response. It also said all countries meet the full obligations of international health regulations, which, among other things, set rules on how and when to report disease outbreaks. Jeremy Ferrer, director of the Wellcome Trust Global Health Charity. Now, I haven't heard of that one before. I'll have to look into it, but not tonight. Somebody else can look into it and see what that one's all about. It's called the Wellcome Trust Global Health Charity. That sounds nice, doesn't it? Agreed with the panel's recommendations for the creation of a new center, which he said must be strong and independent. Epidemic and pandemic diseases are among the greatest of all threats to human health and security, against which we have for too long done too little to prepare, he said. After 4 inquiries into the preventable tragedy of Ebola, there is now a strong consensus about what must be done. Oh, so they've come to a new consensus. The UN panel said it was convinced that there is no substitute for having a single global health leader. So much for your national health. And that the World Health Organization should become that leader, just like the IPC, okay, and the World Bank, and so many of these other organizations, UNESCO, which is in charge of your child's education, okay, and the Universal Church, which is in charge and takes all the religions of the world and puts them in the blender, maybe a Basmatic or something from the good old Saturday Night Live stuff. Or no, that was SCTV, I think. Or maybe it was the other one. The Basmatic. You put everything in the Basmatic and you turn it on, and it blends it nicely into one. So, by failure by the Geneva-based WHO to reform, it said, may necessitate considerations of alternate UN institutional response mechanisms. Now, you got to understand, with everything that comes out of the United Nations, the international lawyers are writing the rules, okay? They're writing the banking rules, environmental rules, your health rules, your food rules, your water rules, your housing rules, what color you paint your frickin' door rules, okay? You know, it's all about internationalization. It's all about the death of the nation state. And we're all witnessing our nation states dying right before our frickin' eyes. It added that too often global panic about epidemics has been followed by complacency and inaction. It cited as an example a review of global preparedness drawn up after the 2009 H1N1 flu pandemic, whose recommendations were mostly not addressed. Now, the H1N1 flu pandemic was a complete inside job, okay, and that is somewhere on my blog, CanadianTruths.wordpress.com. And it was all about selling vaccines, is really what that was about. Getting people freaked out so they could sell lots of vaccine, because they discuss how good their vaccine program is working and how much money they're making on it and how great this is. And if we don't have, this was just before the H1N1 pandemic came along, and they said right in that, and that was a paper out of Geneva, that what they needed, because they were worried about people losing faith in vaccines, that they needed some kind of a pandemic within the next couple of years in order that people would not lose interest or faith in vaccinations. So that's when the H1N1 flu just happened to slide by. What a wonderful timing that was. You know, and this is the CBC, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. And, after the H1N1 flu, I got up one early morning and I got out in the truck, I don't know, about 6 in the morning, and turned on the radio. And what was on the radio? Somebody calling in saying, do you think the media overhyped the H1N1 crisis? Now, what did the Communist Broadcasting System say, better known as the CBC, here in Canada? What did they say to the caller? Don't look at us. Don't look at us. We only go with the script that's handed to us. And where are all these scripts coming from? They're coming from the United Nations. And who comes up with all this junk? The people that created the United Nations and Israel. Okay, so the whole thing's an inside job. You know, the whole damn thing's an inside job. Now, if you think a lot of good people got killed during 9/11, you're correct. There was. It was damn disgusting. And everybody's running around. 9/11 was an inside job. Well, your health education, your health is an inside job. Vaccines are an inside job. Chemotherapy is an inside job. The education system's an inside job, and so on and so forth. Your poison food is an inside job. And who's in control of all of this stuff? The United Nations, because every single country is a member state of the United Nations and it agreed basically to do the bidding of the United Nations. And here we are, yammering on about a football game, yammering on about the election, like any of it matters, okay? Because all the dirty work's coming in from the outside. And it's being filtered down inside to bubble up where? Where you live, at the local level from your local councils. Okay? And that's the only place we have the opportunity to expose from. To make those people who are doing the bidding of a bunch of internationalists, it's the only place we can make a difference. And we best start doing it real quick. Very, very quick. So the virus has infected 31 pregnant Colombians. Zika virus, 6 things to know about the growing outbreak. And thousands of lives at risk in the next major pandemic. I think we've just been through that. What else we got here? Zika. That we're going to hear about this a lot. Zika virus linked to vision-threatening lesions in babies with birth defect. But this is all, it doesn't really matter what you read anymore. You can trace it back to the United Nations. You know? I mean, it kills me. I still got this stupid anonymous guy running around. Okay, you see the face masks and everything. I trace that straight back to the United Nations years ago. Years ago. You know? And this clown's still running around with that stupid mask with his laurel wreath around him. Do people don't get that or what? They don't get that stuff? You know? You even have it on the mainstream news, I see, you know? Every now and again, Anonymous will say something. Well, if it's on the mainstream news, you know it's crooked. It's that simple. Can't be anything else but crooked. Okay, let me see here. I don't know anything about the... Whoops, I missed that. Let's see. 6 things that I need to know about this growing outbreak. And I'm going to put this in the chat because they're running around fumigating people. What are they fumigating them with? I saw some pictures of some places where I would think that what they're spraying them with is probably more dangerous than the frickin' this so-called outbreak. I've seen some pictures where you know, they got everybody running around in these hazmat suits with air masks on, but and they're spraying everything and everybody. Only the people they're spraying don't have a hazmat suit and they don't have a respirator. Yeah, this page has got it. It's got 16 pictures here or something. And you look at this, you look at the I mean, this is right out of a science fiction movie, you know. You can't even see anything in some of these pictures. Here are these guys standing here in this fog of whatever it is they're spraying. And the guys doing the spraying, they're all decked out, but now people that are stuck in the spray, they got nothing. They got nothing. The virus is primarily transmitted through the something mosquito, a particularly aggressive white speckled mosquito that bites during the day. It is the same mosquito that spreads dengue and I can't read these viruses, making it a triple threat. Oh, beautiful. Transmission occurs when a mosquito feeds on a person infected with Zika and then spreads the virus by biting an uninfected person. I can see a lot of vaccinations going on this one. A lot. So symptoms. Only 1 in 5 of those infected show symptoms, which develop up to 1 week after being bitten. Most symptoms are mild and include fever, rash, headache, muscle, and joint pain, and red eyes. They can last for 2 to 7 days. Most symptoms can be easily treated with rest and plenty of fluids. If symptoms worsen, the doctor should be consulted. There are no vaccine to prevent the virus, and no vaccine and no medication to treat it. Oh my God, run for the hills. Fear, 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 fear. We got to give the WHO what they want. We got to give it as a singular head of health around the world. Because if we don't, who's going to look after us? You know? So instead of terror, 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 you got fear, 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 fear. Right? There's some evidence that the infection causing serious complications, including with the greatest risk appearing to the associated with the fresh timers, I guess, and that is the shrunken head or something. This is too freaking wild, man. So it's all through, let's see, from where? Argentina all the way up through Central America and up through Mexico, and it seems to stop at the Texas border. Or is it into Texas now? Countries with active transmission. There's a whole list of countries here. Yeah, so, I mean, these people, will it come to Canada? Holy crap. I'm going to be out of time before I can get in here. There have already been travel-related cases reported in Canada. I got to hermetically seal my house now. The mosquito doesn't live in Canada, but people coming in the country. That's the other thing with all this mass migration and immigration, right? You know, they may have something that we're not used to, just like they did to the native people here a long time ago, and that's unfortunate. So, anyways, we just gotta just keep at what we're doing at, take every opportunity we have to help, hopefully, you know, talk to people. You don't have to talk to them by freaking them out because they're not prepared for it. You want to do this quietly, easily. It's called the soft sell, but we got to talk to them. And all of them fast. Anyways, that's my hour. I got to get off here, and I got to go and talk to Michael Smith. We're going to go over to Milk Act. Everybody have a great night, and we'll be back here Thursday night, 7 o'clock, right here on the best of the internet called UCY.tv. Hey, everybody be good. Take care.